Okay. Should we get to our NBA Maki Mock?
We shall.
All right.
There's 32 or is it 30? 32 first round picks in the first round, which is a lot. I apologize. It's only 30.
I was going to say 32 is the NFL.
That's the NFL. But yeah, let's just do it's 30, but since it's a lot and we want to kind of get through this, we'll do the lottery picks.
So that's the first 14.
Yeah.
We'll throw in a couple extra just because we like you.
Like it a lot.
I like it.
Yeah, so let me start off from the tippy top.
Tip tap to do it.
There's been like the draft, the betting odds have like changed substantially. They've swung big time in the favor of Jabari Smith, for him to go first. And any of these top 3 picks, I think the Magic at number 1 could use, because they're a young team with a lot of young talent. They're obviously these younger teams with the first 3 picks, the Magic, the Thunder, then the Rockets. They're all in a rebuilding process. And as I touched on before, there's no such thing as a safe pick, especially at number 1. You can easily bust. You can easily trade them away. They can easily break your heart. But I think the pick that does just make the most sense for the Magic is taking Jabari Smith. He's arguably one of the best shooters in the draft. He balled out at Auburn. He's a top defender, and just kind of building him around guys like Mo Bamba and Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony, who need to, find their place on the team. They struggled last year at times, but they can make some noise in this league, and they're kind of rebuilding around those types of players. Wendell Carter Jr. They have talent on their team. So I just think adding a guy like Jabari Smith and his presence just makes sense for the Orlando Magic. What do you think of that first pick?
So I completely agree with you. I think the only thing I will say is like the Magic historically have gone with guys like Chet. Like I think it will be Jabari because he's the safest, I can't speak, the safest pick that you could possibly have in the draft. He's probably top 2 shooters, top 3 shooters in this draft. He's a freak athlete, a great defender, like you said. He's a walking bucket, and he is what they need. With that said, they really usually take guys like Chet. Like if you think about their previous guys that they take, like lanky, long guys like Mo Bamba. What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
You said get some?
No, I said handsome.
Oh. Mo Bamba. They took Jonathan Isaac, who's also a very lanky kind of guy.
I was trying to think of his name, and I was thinking Isaac Bruce, and I'm like, that's a football player. So I'm just going to shut my mouth.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think it will be ultimately Jabari Smith. The top 3 I feel like are pretty set in stone. Not necessarily the order that they'll go in, but the top 3 players will be in the top 3. So anyway, I do agree with number 1. Who do you have at number 2? The Oklahoma City Thunder, the craziest team. They have like 17 first-round picks in the next 5 years.
Yeah, like they're going to be one of the best teams in the league, I'd say, in a dozen years or so, no doubt. But so right here, everyone thinks like if Jabari goes 1, there's no doubt the Thunder take Chet. But I'm not a big Chet fan. I'm not high on him, and I think it would be a mistake taking him. I think the Thunder need ball scorers. They have SGA, who's their primary ball scorer. Last year they brought in Giddey, who's one of their primary ball scorers. I think if you want to win, you need guys who can score the rock. You need playmakers. And I think Paolo's that guy. I think taking guys out of Duke is always a good choice. Paolo was, if not the best player on Duke this past year. And I just I know that the Thunder, like bringing in these tall international guys. They had, Pogačevski. They brought in Giddy, but I think it just makes sense for them to add to guys to surround SGA, Lou Dort, Giddy. If you add Paolo into that mix, he's a playmaker. He's someone who's going to distribute the ball, and he's gonna give you at least 20 points a game. I think he's.
You think?
I think he could easily win Rookie of the Year. I just think he's a playmaker, and the Thunder would be foolish to pass on him. Like I'm not trying to shit on Chet because he's a great player. There's not too many 7-footers that come into the league who are going to make a presence, because Chet's absolutely going to make a presence in this league, but he's just going to get bodied down low. He's too skinny. And you look at someone like Embiid, like when he came into the league, he was skinny and he put on a lot of weight, and look at him now.
Or Porzingis, same thing.
Exactly.
It was a stick.
So yeah, he just needs to kind of develop into his body, hit the weight room, start eating more food. But I don't know. I've just never been big on Gonzaga guys, to be honest. Like, you look at some of the guys like Roy Hachimura, Domantas Sabonis, like they've developed well in this league as some of the top players for their teams. But I don't know. I've never really liked Gonzaga guys in the NBA. You see guys like Adam Morrison who have been busts. And I think Chet's going to go down one of two paths. He's going to go down the path of being an elite player in this league and having people are like comparing him to Kevin Durant, which I think is silly, but like he could go down that path of being an elite scorer in this league, or he could go down the path of someone like, I don't know, being like Boban Marjanovic, who's just a tall 7-footer who is a good defender, but isn't really going to do much for you. So I could be completely missing with this, and most likely, to be realistic, the Thunder are going to take Chet, but I just think if I'm the Thunder, I'm taking Paolo.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think that the Thunder will take. I totally understand your reasoning. I think Paolo is an awesome talent. He's also a tank. Like he's like 250.
Yeah,
and he bodied people in well, I can't speak again. It's tough in the morning, man. March Madness, he bodied people. He was definitely the best scorer. He was the go-to guy. He's a playmaker. He's everything you want on a team. I just think that the Thunder will go Chet because of his sky-high upside.
Yeah,
they have so many swings on this. Like if you like, that's the one good thing about their team. In a few years, they'll be able to package those 17 first-round picks into 3 quality players, or they can hit on some, and they have. They got SGA. They were able to draft Josh Giddey, who was a revelation. I didn't even think that Josh Giddey would be what he is so quick. He was an amazing playmaker, and he was a great defensive player too. And they have guys that they've developed, like Lou Dort out of nowhere, who they might have to package up if they're going to try to move up from 12. But what they don't have is big men. Chet is the biggest man.
Yeah.
And I think that with his intangibles, that's what makes sense for their team. I also think that the Rockets are strategically waiting for a guy like I think Paolo is who they assume they're going to get anyway.
Yeah.
And they don't really care. I think Paolo's their guy. The Rockets' is guy. They just let Christian Wood go to the Mavericks.
Yeah, it was such a low key trade because everyone's focused on the finals, so they just kind of slipped it in.
Yeah, with consent.
Yes,
and So anyway, I think Chet will go 3, or sorry, in this mock draft, Chet will go 3 to the Rockets. There were some reports that he might slip because of medical concerns, like he wasn't giving everyone his medicals or something like that. It was very briefly mentioned in one of the. Anyway, so I disagree with you. I think Chet will go 2, but I understand why you think Paolo should.
Yeah, I mean, for the 3rd pick, the Rockets are going to be fine taking whoever the Thunder don't take. But
These are
You
3
know,
all-stars, maybe.
but yeah, if we're being realistic here, and Paolo ends up going to the Rockets, that is like, huge win for them.
Mhm.
They need more playmakers on that team, another team that's rebuilding, other than Porter and why am I blanking on his name? Who's the other?
For what team?
The Rockets, not Kevin Porter
Oh,
and the other guy.
and Jalen Green.
Yeah, Jalen Green. They need like a primary ball scorer on that team. So taking Paolo makes sense, but also if for some reason Paolo did go to, and I'm correct, and I can laugh in your face,
Do it.
the Rockets taking Chet is a big win for them too, because they already have Sengun down low. But there have been a lot of teams in this league who take on that and embrace the like twin tower type mentality
Totally.
of having two big men down low. We've seen it more and more in the league. So having those two defenders down low would make them almost impossible to score on in the paint.
Yeah,
So
especially
either
considering Check and shoot 40% from 3-point.
exactly, yeah. So either way, the Thunder and Rockets are going to be happy with whoever they end up with.
Yeah, I agree.
This is someone you'll probably talk about with the Kings pick at 4, but I just kind of like wanted to throw this in there. I don't think it's completely, and this wouldn't happen, but like, I don't think it's completely crazy to think that like the Rockets would be interested in taking someone like Jaden Ivey out of Purdue, because as you touched on earlier, John Wall's career is most likely done in
Mhm.
Houston. Don't even know like how he's going to even be able to bounce back from his injuries. He's also just getting older, so I don't really even think the Rockets really want him.
I think it's the Thunder who would want
Yeah,
him.
they need the Rockets need a ball handler, like they need a point guard. They don't really have any depth at the point guard position. I'm pretty sure the only point guard on their team is Dennis Schroeder. So
No, they have Kevin Porter Jr.
he's
He
a
brings the ball up for them.
okay, but like they need a point guard though, like a primary point guard, and they don't really have that. So I think it would make sense for them to want someone like Jaden Ivey, but
Mhm.
obviously they're not going to pass on Chet or Paolo.
Yeah, I think the Thunder will try to get up to 4. I think my bold prediction is they will end up moving up to 4. I think they have the assets to do it. Um, they will take him. If you can think about what a dynamic trio of putting Giddy at the 3, or I mean, it's kind of like positionless basketball right now. So like it really could be interchangeable between Jaden Ivey, SGA, and Giddy. That's like a really dangerous trio to be able to bring up the ball. If Jaden Ivey ends up panning out, I think so. To go with what you're saying, number 4 is the Kings. I think that Jaden Ivey will be the 4th pick. Whether that is the Kings staying pat because they take point guards every year, even if they have them. They took Halliburton having 2 point guards already. They had 2 point guards and took Davion Mitchell. They make no sense. That is just the Kings. They have a lot of leverage at this pick. They are trying to, make the playoffs for the first time in almost it's like 20 years or something like that.
Since their KD era.
No, they've never had KD.
I thought you were talking about the Thunder.
Oh no! Sorry, I'm talking about the Kings.
The Kings,
The
I don't
Kings.
even know. I guess their last time would have been like Chris Webber, maybe then.
Yeah, so somewhere like years ago, years and years ago. But I could see them staying pat and taking Jaden Ivey. That is something that they would do, and
Yeah.
because it makes no sense. But I think, according to Woj too, they will wait until the minute of their pick, and they will just take the best offer that's given to them. I could see the Pistons coming up. I know the Pacers have had talks to come up, keep them in Indiana because that's where Purdue is. I could see them. I don't know. I could see the Wizards coming up because they also are trying to come up from 10. And I know the Knicks are trying to come up, but I think that rumor is too good to be true, and I don't think that the Knicks will end up pulling that off. and it's unrealistic to me. But I think that's whoever trades up, the Kings are going to get an absolute haul. I know what the Knicks offered, like multiple first round picks, young players. Like I can only imagine how much they're about to get if they do make this trade. So that's who I have it for. Right now, the Kings, but it could be anyone who comes up. My guess is the Thunder will end up trading up. Number 5 is the Pistons. Benedict Mathurin. I don't know if I pronounced your name right, so I'm sorry. Out of Arizona.
Dr. Strange.
You know that movie's on Disney Plus now already?
I still haven't seen it, so that's huge.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus right now. Benedict Mathurin is a scorer. He is that dude. He has risen up these draft boards like crazy because he is just such a dynamic weapon. At the 2/3, I think he's about 6'6". For the Pistons, they need a wing scorer. I mean, they have Sadiq Bey, who is very, very good. Killian Hayes, I think, is like fine. I mean, if they're looking for a lead guard alongside Cade Cunningham, I think that they're not sold on Killian Hayes, who they also picked in the lottery. But this Pistons team, man, like I said, they're kind of interesting the way they're building this. I like it. I like the way they're building this thing.
I like it a lot.
I like it. You're hot. And I think that if they can figure out the center position, which is ironic because that was the only position for years that they had figured out with Andre Drummond. I think that they could be on the come up finally. I think Cade Cunningham is such a stud. And Mathurin would give him an awesome go-to scorer right alongside Cade Cunningham. Do you have any thoughts on Benedict Mathurin, or do you want me to keep moving on? Because number 6 was actually I'll let you go. Number 6 is your pick because I very much disagree with this. But go ahead on your 6th pick with the Pacers.
I said Dyson Daniels. Slice him and dice him, those dicey sanitizers. But you said you think it's a little redundant the trade that they made for Halliburton. Because where did he get traded from again? Was it the Pacers?
The Kings.
Halliburton's on the Kings now.
He
came from the Kings to the Pacers. So Halliburton, you think it's a little bit redundant, which like I can understand. I can understand why you say that, but I don't know. I think there's just a lot of hype on
play defense.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of hype on Dyson Daniels, and it's like, he's one of the better guards like coming into the league. I think, coming out of the G League, right?
Yep, I think he's the G League Ignite.
Yeah. I just think he has a lot of talent, and the Pacers need talent on their team. They need playmakers, ball handlers, guys who are going to distribute. And I think he's just like a top name. And if he's still there in this draft, it's going to be hard for them to pass on him unless they decide to go elsewhere, like Keegan Murray or something like that.
I think they're going Keegan Murray. If the board falls this way, I think Keegan Murray makes too much sense for them. I don't even know if they have a 4 right now. I can't think of it, but they have. Who did they take last year? Duarte. They have Duarte. They're going to trade Brogdon, so they do need another ball handler for sure. But Halliburton and Dyson Daniels are so similar. They're both like 6'8". They're both point guards. I don't know if Dyson Daniels is working on his shot. Halliburton is actually low-key a very good shooter. And they're both distributors who can play defense. So if that's the brand of basketball that they want to have, the more the merrier. But I just I don't see it. I think that Keegan Murray is perfect for them at the kind of interchangeable, more like a 4 than a 3. But forwards are forwards in this day and age. Draymond is a 6'6" power forward, so anything can happen. So that's what I think. And then number 7 with the Trailblazers. There's been a lot of smoke around this, but they also might trade out. So
You don't want
Shaden Sharp out of Kentucky. Kind of one of the bigger mysteries of this draft.
I shall call her Mystery.
I shall call her Mystery. I think I put that for a different one. I actually did write that. Like I shall call her Mystery. Did I do that for? Yeah, I wrote number 12. I call her Mystery. Anyway, he's one of the most polarizing prospects easily. It's kind of hard to get a read on him. He didn't play in Kentucky because he declared at it was like January or something like that is when he declared. So he was late declare. He only played in practice, but I was listening to Jay Billis talk about it, and he was just like, he was the most dynamic player at that practice every time. And he's an amazing shooter. He has a bounce for days.
Yeah,
hits.
It just kind of seemed like the Trailblazers are in trouble with, Dame getting hurt, losing McCollum.
Yeah, that was tough.
But Dame wants to stay a Trailblazer, it sounds like. So if they're going to get him help, they need to find someone to replace that McCollum factor. And not that Sharp's going to do that, but he'll definitely, learn a lot from Dame time and play well around him. So, and then bringing in Jeremy Grant was a big acquisition for them. So
they also had so much success with Anthony Simons. I wonder if that's why this would lead them kind of down the same path of a guy who last played in high school.
Yeah.
But do you think this trade, what am I saying? Do you think this pick will be traded, or do you think ultimately they will stay pat?
I think they'll probably stay with it, but it's just kind of a matter of what they could get for it, because it's definitely it's a top 10 pick. You got to get something for it. It's just a matter of what they're looking for, because if you're just going to trade it for like more draft picks, that's not really. I think that's just kind of a waste. But they're probably trying to get some player out of it if they're gonna do that.
See, okay. So for number 8, I think for me it's interchangeable. I think that Dyson Daniels will go here. But why don't you talk on why Keegan Murray makes sense for the Pelicans? Because that's what we have in this draft.
Yeah, I think Keegan Murray would be a good pick out of Iowa for the Pelicans. It's just like Zion said he wants to stay in New Orleans, but his health is just kind of like so up in the air. Another guy, like, I don't know if you want to write him off yet as being a bust in the league. You can't just yet, but like,
I don't think so.
He was just one of the most dominant physical players coming out of Duke, and he's had some early injuries in his career, which is never a good sign. But they didn't want to take this path, but I think the Pelicans need to kind of build around that scenario, and they need to prepare for the worst. Assuming he comes back this year, and he's in good shape and he loses weight and he lays off the Mountain Dews, he'll probably be just fine. Yeah. But I just think Keegan Murray would be a good fit for the Pelicans because he's a good shooter. He has the capability to be a top player in this league one day. I just think he played really well for Iowa. So I just, they need depth on that roster as well. So we'll just kind of have to see what path they take here. But I think Keegan Murray's hard to pass on if he's there at that point.
And then let me just throw this out there because I think Dyson Daniels for them makes a lot of sense if he's there also. They need a lead guard pretty desperately.
They have obviously they have Alvarado as their backup, but then they also have Devontae Graham. So
yeah, Devontae Graham really is like a 2 though in a 1's body. Like he's a scorer. He's a damn good scorer, but he's a scorer.
He's a Graham good scorer. Sorry.
No, you're right. I think that they would want a distributor alongside Graham. Alvarado's not a starter, although his pickpockets are so funny that when he just like stands at the other side of the court waiting and hides, and then he comes around. Pick-pock.
So at 9 we have the Spurs. Why were we talking about the Spurs earlier? You like mentioned them briefly.
DeJounte Murray?
Yeah, the Murray trade. You're right. But yeah, their first pick is at 9. And they could go anywhere with this pick. My prediction here in our mock draft might be a bit of a reach, but it also makes sense, and I'll explain to you why. Um, and I apologize, I'm probably going to butcher his name, but out of Kansas, the Spurs taking Ochai Agbaji, however you say it. Um,
Agbaji? I
I
don't know.
thought he was just a beast at Kansas, and he's just a 3-and-D type player. He's going to make an immediate impact in the league. I think just with how he can shoot the ball and his perimeter defense, which is like what the Spurs need. And that's just kind of like the players that they're building around right now. So I think the Spurs just kind of need more playmakers. They need more shooters on their team. So I think it just makes sense for them to go, and it wouldn't be a bad pick for them to take a guy like him. And as you know, Kansas produces monsters,
Monstars.
JoJo. So I think it's like it wouldn't be a crazy pick for them. I don't know if they're going to even look his way, but don't be surprised if Agbaji is a top 10 pick in the draft.
I could see also a guy like Jalen Duren makes sense out of Memphis, the center. That's a position kind of need, which you don't want to do that per se.
Yeah, and then you just look at their history with David Robinson and Timmy D. They haven't really had a big man down low. Like, who's their big man? Jakob Poeltl? Like, I don't even know who their center
I think it is. Yeah, and Jakob Poeltl is not a good center.
So
Like,
they really be taking
he's not even a good rebounder, and he's a defensive liability.
Yeah, taking Durant would be a good move.
So I could see that, but Agbaji, or sorry if I again screw your name wrong. That is definitely a Spurs type player. I totally agree with that. Like as a wing player, like he just does it all. I don't know if he'll last to this point, but at number 10 for the Wizards, we have Johnny Davis from Wisconsin. He's kind of like more of a shooting guard, but he's a shot maker. He has a ton of explosiveness. So he's coming out as a sophomore. He didn't shoot the three well this year. He shot like 30% from three, but he was the Big Ten Player of the Year. And he's a walking bucket, and he showed a tons of improvement from his first year to his sophomore year, which is kind of what you want to see. I just think that next to Brad Beal, who, I mean, maybe I kind of understand why Brad Beal needs a guy like a Dyson Daniels, like a true point guard distributor, because how funny would it be if John Wall ends up going there, like after he eventually gets a buyout?
Going where?
Back to the Wizards. Because it's kind of funny, like they need a guy like John Wall.
Yeah.
Like a point guard who's a good distributor and a good defender. John Wall. Kind of funny. Anyway, I think but that didn't work because Brad Beal wanted the team to himself. And they wanted to give him the keys.
And there's so many teams like the Sixers, the Heat, that would want Bradley Beal. So
yeah.
I don't know if he's going to even stay in Washington.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. Well, his decision is made, apparently. So if he does go, I mean, that'll probably open up things for Johnny Davis. They'll be so bad without him. But Johnny Davis would be a very good player for them, I think. He's a walking bucket. So number 11, close to my heart, New York Knicks. Just a moment of silence for the fact that we haven't moved up and then the NBA draft lottery. 20 years. It's fucking rigged. Obviously. Everyone wants to see New York burn.
I do.
Anyway, I think the Knicks, and if this really, just the way that our mock draft played out, I think that this is something that they would do. I would be really upset. I would not love this pick at all. AJ Griffin from Duke. I will not be in love with this pick. He's a wing. He's a decent shooter. He shot over 40% from three, but I've listened to some scouts who think that like his shot might not be translatable. He has injury concerns, and his defense is like he's got the intangibles, but his defense is like fine. He wasn't that great at Duke for what like how high he was ranked in high school. Like he didn't play up to snuff. He still was fine, but like obviously he's good enough to be a top 14 pick. But I don't think that they will stay at this pick. I think. Well, they've been I don't really know. The Knicks have been involved in every point guard rumor possible. They have been involved with Jalen Brunson in clearing space. That was per Woj yesterday. They have been apparently in talks with coming up to 4 for the Kings, which I hope they do with Jaden Ivey. That would be sick. That was from Ian Begley. They also might trade out, which is something Leon Rose, who's the head trust of the Knicks, does a lot. And I could also see them trading for Brogdon, but apparently they won't give up the number 11 pick, which I'm glad. They shouldn't give up the 11 pick for him. Brogdon is an awesome player, but he's just injured all the time.
If you want to be,
he's not what they need. Also, he's an older player, and they need youth. They're so bad at rebuilding. It's comical.
I tried to just play the NBA draft noise so I could give the next pick, but it failed miserably.
Oh shit! Sorry, that stinks. Anyway, so let's move on from the Knicks. I'm sure I'll just be disappointed tonight. Number 12. Would you like to take it away? Back to the Thunder.
Sure. Another first round pick for the Thunder. They just keep them coming. They have all these picks.
Pump them.
So it really, I think, in a way, kind of depends on who they take. But bless you. Assuming they take Chet,
thank you.
It wouldn't really make sense for them to take another big man.
Yes.
So here they could go with a variety of different players, but assuming they take Chet, Ousmane Dieng out of France, played in the
New Zealand
Australian Basketball League.
New Zealand Breakers was the team.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said with the Thunder, they just try to shoot for as much upside as possible. They love their international players. So I could see them even trading up in this draft to try to get him. I think he could be a top 10 pick in the league.
I call her
if you watch any of I call her mystery. If you look at any of his film on YouTube, which I watched, like when a player dominates overseas, it doesn't always translate to the NBA, but he's just a knockdown 3-point shooter. He's a good rim protector. He's 6'10", but he moves like a small forward, so it's like he can play at any position he wants to. Decent ball handler. I just think he's a player with a lot of upside in this league, and any team who takes him will be hitting a bullseye with this guy. So if the Thunder get him, I think that's like a huge win for them, taking Chet or Paolo and this guy.
They just like their ridiculously high upside players.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why I could this is why I think that they will end up somehow trading up to 4 or one of those top picks, taking a Jaden Ivey, taking a Shaedon Sharpe is another good example of I call her mystery. But also honestly, people who they don't know anything about who has ridiculous upside. Those are that's their kind of player. Like if you think about it, Giddey, even though I didn't understand it at the time, the reason he went number 6 last year was I think he was number 6, number 7, whatever he was last year. Giddey, their first round pick, he was kind of a mystery too. Honestly, he was an Australian basketball player. People knew that he had the physical tools to be a very good distributor, to be a very good player, but no one knows. And they like those guys who have the intangibles. SGA is a huge point guard. He's 6'5", right? Mm-hmm. Something like that. Did I make that up?
I think you're right.
SGA height. 6'6". She's a big boy. Anyway, so I could see exactly what you're saying, like with Diang, Jung. I don't know what his name is. So the Hornets are number 13. So we can wrap this puppy up, put a bow on it, kiss it goodnight, tuck it in. Mwah. Lick it. What? So the Hornets are rumored to want to give one of these picks so someone will take the expiring contract of Gordon Hayward.
Because they have 13 and 15, so they don't need both necessarily.
The more I think about this, I actually think it might be more a guy like Sochan from Baylor. We have Mark Williams in this draft. Like, they do need a center for sure, but they also might need a power forward if Bridges leaves.
Yeah.
Bridges really might leave in free agency. I don't know if they'll be able to pay him. So in this case, Mark Williams, I do think it makes tons of sense. They need a center. He was a beast for Duke this past year.
So I have a quick question. The lottery picks are 1 through 14.
Yep.
How are the rest of the picks determined? Is it based off record?
Yep.
Okay.
You are correct.
Well,
but yeah, I mean, most of it.
The Hornets lucked out there with 13 and then getting 15 right off the bat.
Well, yeah. I mean, 13 was unlucky, though, if you think about it. They got the second to last pick in the lottery. The ones that are towards the end, the lottery is so confusing. But the ones towards the end of the lottery are usually they stay pat.
Go Pat.
Knicks, go Pat. The Knicks, for example, like they were slotted at 11 before the draft, the lottery, and so the odds that they were gonna either move down or stay put were the highest. If they moved into the top 5, they could have gotten to number 4. Ironically, that was where they would have gone. So when they were going through the different, teams and whatever, I was like, I watched the lottery, and I saw the Knicks somehow managed to not fall down a slot. I was like, that's sick. Now, hopefully they don't freaking call us, because then we'll be number 4. But, nothing good can happen as a Knicks fan. So fuck my life. Anyway, all right, why don't you bring us home? Tuck her in.
And then tucking her in with a little kiss to get the last lottery pick was the Cavs, which I think is a win for them because they shocked the whole league this past year with how good they were. They lost in the first round of the playoffs. Was it to who did they lose to in the first round? Was it the Bulls? No.
The Cavs?
Yeah, they lost in the first round of the playoffs this year. I'm curious. Look it up. I don't know why I'm blanking on this. I should know this. But they just kind of shocked the whole league this year with what they were able to do. Wait, they didn't even make the playoffs?
The Cavs? Yes, they did. They were in the playing game.
Oh, they lost the playing games. That's what it was. Because they didn't make like the actual bracket. I forget who it was they lost to. It might have been the Hawks. They lost to the Hawks. I think that's what it was. But they just kind of shocked the league this year. They were like, in like the top 5 throughout most of the season with what they were able to do with their all-star and Jared Allen and K Love still kicking. Losing Colin Sexton was big for them, but him coming back and having Darius Garland, they're a team to watch out for. You can't sleep on the Cavs. Maybe LeBron will go home for a third time. But
can you imagine?
It's not going to happen, but wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, the Cavs are just like a sneaky good team. Cut a lot of teams by surprise this year. But with this pick, I have them taking Malachi Branham out of Ohio State. The Cavs need another big guy who can shoot the rock because Jared Allen can't really shoot the ball. So to have a guy down low along with him who can he would need to become a better defender. I don't think Branham's the best defender, but he would need to be, work into that, focus on becoming a better defender because you need to defend in this league. I know it doesn't seem like that, but you need to be a good defender in the NBA. And he can also shoot the ball, so he'd be a nice addition to the Cavaliers bench if they went that route.
Malachi Branham is 6'5".
That's pretty tall.
I was gonna say, I was like, I don't think he's a big man.
But just his presence down low, having him down low with Jared Allen and like Kevin Love. I mean, he's been seeing less and less minutes over the years. He could still play, but he'd be a nice addition off the bench, adding depth to their roster. I think the reason why I said he's a big man is I think he can guard all 5 positions, but that was at Ohio State, and the NBA is a different story, a different breed, and he definitely needs to become a stronger defender. So who really knows what direction the Cavs could go here, because they could go several different ways. They could go for Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. They could go for Jeremy Sochin out of Baylor. I don't know if I butchered his name. Ty Washington. I mean, he's a guard, but the Cavs don't need another guard, but they could really go anywhere with the 14th pick.
Woj bomb.
Did he just drop a bomb?
Well, I feel like all of his tweets are bombs. He just said, as teams, as per Woj, got to give him some spec. As teams boards finalized today, the 1, 2, 3 of the NBA draft is increasingly firm per sources. Jabari Smith to Orlando, Chet Holmgren to Oklahoma City, and Paolo to the Rockets.
Well, I guess I'm wrong, as usual. But you never know. Maybe something happens and he breaks his toe walking on stage and they tell him to go sit down and they bring Paolo up. But that concludes our mock draft, at least for the lottery picks. The next ones are like, so up in the air. Some of the other picks I just kind of wanted to throw out there real quickly, which I think are kind of funny, is, and so many people laugh about this, is Nikola Jovic out of Serbia. The Nuggets have the 21st pick, and I just think that'd be hilarious if they took him, to have the Jokic and Jovic show. That'd be really funny for them. And then obviously just looking at my Sixers, they have the 23rd pick. There's been rumors about them trading it, trying to package like Matisse Thybulle and trying to get somebody, which like would be really juicy to see happen. But
what do you think they'd be able to get with that?
That's the thing. I don't know. Like Matisse, in a way, like he does have to go because he's probably our best defender, but he can't score the basketball. And even though I'm kind of going against what I said 10 seconds ago about how you need to be a good defender in this league. People don't play defense, and it's all about scoring the basketball. So at the end of the day, like Matisse not being able to hit a corner 3 in the playoffs when Danny Green got hurt, and James Harden not wanting to shoot the ball just kind of hurt us. So if they want to go ahead and try to package him with the pick, I'm all for it. But you need to get someone who makes sense. Don't just get some random guy.
He reminds me of Andre Roberson.
He was a bust. But we'll have to see. If not, maybe getting a guy like Wendell Moore at the 23rd pick could be good. But we shall have to see. Draft day is upon us.
It is indubitably.